जय हिंद दोस्तों स्वागत है आपका हमारे इस चैनल में। एक बार फिर से मैं लेके हाजिर हुआ हूँ आपके साथ द हिंदू न्यूज़पेपर के एडिटोरियल्स का वीकली रिव्यू। और ये पीरियड है हमारा दोस्तों 21 मार्च टू 26 मार्च। इस पीरियड में जो एडिटोरियल्स आए हैं उनमें से जो इम्पोर्टेंट एडिटोरियल्स हैं वो मैं आपके साथ ब्रीफ में डिस्कस करूँगा। एक बार देख लेते हैं इस हफ्ते में कौन कौन से एडिटोरियल्स आए हैं। 21 मार्च, इंडिया स्टैंड ऑन द यूक्रेन वॉर इज ट्रेजिक। 22 March, a Ukraine peace plan that needs a youth hand. Another editorial on 22nd, realizing the potential of Maitri and Mateship. 23rd March, a blow to equitable access to essential medicines. 24th, global uncertainties, India's growth prospects. Another on 24th, tracking the persistent growth of China. 25th, the peculiar case of Ladakh's eastern boundary. Another on 25th, time for India to redefine its relationship with Russia. 26th, crisis in Sri Lanka. India should help Sri Lanka during the crisis and resolve the bilateral issues. फ्रेंड्स, ये है इस हफ्ते के एडिटोरियल्स और इसमें से मैंने पिक किए हैं दो एडिटोरियल जो मैं डिस्कस करूंगा आपके साथ आज के इस वीडियो में, जो मैंने रेड मार्क किए हैं 24 मार्च के, ग्लोबल अनसर्टेनिटीज, इंडियाज ग्रोथ प्रॉस्पेक्ट्स एंड ट्रैकिंग द परसिस्टेंट ग्रोथ ऑफ चाइना। दोस्तों, मैं ये जो वीडियो बना रहा हूँ स्पेशली उन कैंडिडेट्स के लिए जो जॉब कर रहे हैं और जॉब के साथ यूपीएससी एग्जाम्स की तैयारी कर रहे हैं। तो जॉब करने की वजह से कहीं ना कहीं उनके पास टाइम की क्राइसिस होती है और वो न्यूज़पेपर को प्रॉपर्ली नहीं पढ़ पाते हैं, एडिटोरियल्स को कवर नहीं कर पाते हैं। तो जब टाइम की क्राइसिस है तो नेचुरली ऐसे टाइम में आपको सेलेक्टिव होना पड़ता है कि अगर आपने पूरे एडिटोरियल्स को देखना है और देखने के बाद आपको सेलेक्ट करना है कि कौन सा एडिटोरियल आपके एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इम्पॉर्टेंट है। इसीलिए मैं लिस्ट में से कुछ एडिटोरियल ही सिलेक्ट करता हूं जो आपके एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इम्पॉर्टेंट होते हैं। फ्रेंड्स, इस लिस्ट में से मैंने दो पिक किए हैं, लेकिन अगर आपको लगता है कि इनमें से कुछ और भी टॉपिक है जो आपको लगता है कि एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इम्पॉर्टेंट है तो आप कमेंट बॉक्स में मेंशन करें। उन एडिटोरियल्स का भी डिस्कशन आपके साथ करूंगा। इसी तरह की मैं ब्रीफ स्लाइड्स बना के लाऊंगा आपके लिए, बुलेट पॉइंट्स दूंगा आपको। इसको बस आप देखेंगे, स्क्रीनशॉट लेके रख लेंगे तो समझ लीजिए आपने पूरा एडिटोरियल पढ़ लिया। चलिए दोस्तों, शुरू करते हैं आज का ये वीडियो। चलिए दोस्तों, शुरू करते हैं आज का पहला एडिटोरियल का डिस्कशन, ग्लोबल अनसर्टेनिटीज, इंडियाज ग्रोथ प्रॉस्पेक्ट्स। नॉर्मलाइजेशन ऑफ द इकोनॉमी हैज बीन डिस्टर्ब्ड एंड द ग्रोथ ऑब्जेक्टिव्स वुड सर्व बाय एप्ट फिजिकल पॉलिसी मूव्स। In the last financial year, that is in 2021, GDP reduced by 6.6% and GVA, that is gross value added, that reduced by 4.8%. But as per NSO SAE report, that is second advance estimates, that says in the financial year 21-22, GDP and GVA expected to recover to 8.9% and 8.3% respectively. The magnitude of all demand components in the financial year 21-22 have surpassed their corresponding levels in 2019-20. Author is taking 2019-20 as the year for comparison because 2019-20 was a normal year, it was a pre-COVID year. That is why the author has taken 19-20 a normal year for comparison. However, the growth of consumption and investment demand as measured by private consumption expenditure, that is PFCE. The private final consumption expenditure, this is the indicator PFCE, and gross fixed capital formation, that is GFCF, in the year 21-22 over financial year 19-20 is only 1.2% and 2.6% respectively. On the output side, the 21-22 magnitude of the trade transport sector, which has many contact intensive segment, has remained below its corresponding level in the year 19-20 by 2.9 lakhs crore. Growth in the construction sector in the financial year 21-22 was at only 1.9% over 2019-20. Crisis of crude upsurge impact. It is difficult to arrive at precise estimates of the impact of increase in global crude prices, but some idea can be provided using the RBI's recent estimates of the growth and inflation effects of an increase of US dollar 10 per barrel. The estimated impact is a reduction in real GDP growth by 27 basis points and an increase in CPI inflation by 40 basis points. This is based on using the baseline global crude price level of US dollar 75 per barrel. For the full year, that is the next financial year 2022-23, we may consider an average global crude price of US dollar 100 per barrel as a benchmark, although in the short run it has already surged to USD 123.21 per barrel. An increase in baseline price of USD 25 per barrel from the baseline price of USD 75 per barrel would lead to an estimated reduction in growth of 0.7% points and an increase in inflation of nearly 1% point. If prices of other commodities also increase, the inflation impact will be higher. Other challenges in regards to fiscal implications, references may be made to the budgeted nominal GDP growth forecast for financial year 2020-23 at 11.1%, assuming a revised real growth component of 6.3% and IPT based inflation component of 6.5%, which may be slightly higher than the corresponding CPI inflation. We may have a revised nominal GDP growth close to 13%. Applying on this a tax buoyancy of 1, the resultant center gross tax revenue, that is GTR, would be higher than the budgeted magnitude of 27.6 lakhs crore rupees by a margin of about 3 lakhs crore rupees. Alongside, there will also be increase in some components of expenditure linked to prices of petroleum products, including petroleum and fertilizer subsidies. The government should attempt to keep the fiscal deficit at the budgeted level. Other challenges continued. Another issue in worsening of current account balance due to higher importing bills with depreciating rupee. RBI in 2019 had estimated an increase in current account deficit, that is CAD, following a US $10 per barrel increase in global crude price to be nearly 0.4% point of GDP. Thus, an increase of US $25 per barrel in global crude prices, the CAD may increase by 1% point of GDP. The professional RBI forecaster surveys median estimates of CAD at 1.9% of GDP for the next financial year 2020-23 may have to be revised upwards to 2.9%. There would also be some sectoral supplies side bottlenecks and cost escalation. Sectors that draw heavily on petroleum products such as fertilizer, iron and steel, foundries, transportation, construction and coal would be adversely affected. Due to disruption in transaction through SWIFT, there would be some disruption in trade to and from Russia and Ukraine. However, the respective share of import and export from these with respect to India's overall import and export is limited. There would be some adverse effects with regards to financial flows. Net foreign portfolio investment FPI's outflows during October to December 21 increased to US $6.3 billion. Net foreign direct investment inflows have also been falling during this period, although they have remained positive. Policymakers may have to exercise a critical choice regarding who bears the burden of higher prices of petroleum products in India, among petroleum products in India, among consumers and industrial users, oil marketing companies and the government. If the oil marketing companies are not allowed to raise prices of petroleum products, the bills of oil sector linked subsidies would go up. If central and state government reduce excise duty and VAT on petroleum products, their tax revenue would be adversely affected. If, on the other hand, the burden of the higher prices is largely passed on to the consumers and industrial users, the already weak investment in private consumption would suffer further. If growth is to be revived, maximum attention should be paid to supporting consumption growth and reducing the cost of industrial inputs with a view to improving capacity utilization. The government may have to strike an appropriate balance among these options. as developed countries are being forced to raise their interest rates and inflationary pressures continue to mount in India and abroad. The RBI may find it advisable to raise the policy rate with a view to stemming inflationary pressures and outward flow of the US dollar, even as the growth objectives would be served by fiscal policy initiatives. So friends, this was a summary of this editorial. This is a very important editorial because we have discussed the impact of external forces on Indian economy and its growth. So you can take a screenshot of these slides and keep these screenshots with you, because all the bullet points are there, and you can develop your answer on the basis of these bullet points. Friends, let us start another topic of today's discussion, that is tracking the persistent growth of China. This topic is not directly important for examination point of view, but I am picking this in the discussion because this is having a lot of food for our thoughts, how China has grown and how China has achieved this equilibrium of their economic development and growth. So we can also learn a lesson or two out of this discussion, that what policies India can also follow so that we can also reach this equilibrium and sustainability of the economic development. Let us start this. This is a very good quote, you can remember, you can use it somewhere. When the wind of change blows, some builds walls while others builds windmills. This particular quote was given by Li Keqiang, Premier of China's People's Republic, during the global impact of China's economic transformation. Rise in China's economy during COVID-19, the financial year 2021, and the data are taken from China's National Bureau of Statistics. In the year 2021, when the entire globe was suffering because of this COVID-19 pandemic, and the economy has suffered a lot of brunt out of it, but the author is sharing the details that during this period, the period of pandemic, China has grown like anything, and how they could sustain in this crisis hours, we will see, and the important parameters and important indexes of economic growth have grown up during this period. Let us discuss this. Manufacturing output increased and reached to 3.84 trillion USD. That is more than previous years. I am talking about the year 2021. So they performed better than 2019-20. Industrial production rose by 4.3%. Fixed asset investment grew by 4.9%. Investment in manufacturing grew by 13.5%. Overall retail sales increased by 12.5%. And China's GDP increased by 2.2% in the year 2020. China's manufacturing worth is 4 trillion USD, and it's more than India's entire GDP. China accounts about 30% of global manufacturing, and it is equal to the sum of USA, Japan and Germany put together. So China is having the share of global manufacturing that is equivalent to the summation of USA, Japan and Germany. That speaks in volumes about China. Accounts for 13% world's exports, accounts for 18% of world market capitalization. Now, the President of China flagged the idea of dual circulation. Now understand this, dual circulation is having two parts. The first part, there would be more reliance on internal circulation, which is the domestic cycle of production, distribution and consumption, supported by innovation and upgrading in the economy. This was identified the route for development. Second, the external circulation, intended to hasten the process of surplus accumulation, would lose its primacy over time and only play a supplemental role. The centerpiece of this strategy was that China would continue its emphasis on industrialization and cut its dependence on global trade and markets. The two circuits are expected to complement each other, that is the internal circulation and external circulation. Let us discuss the China's advanced manufacturing. Quite contrary, the conventional linear model of growth through industrialization was the significance of manufacturing fading over time and services rising to the predominance. China is stimulating overall growth by catalyzing its industrial sector, pursuing a radical shift in its approach. China is using its increasingly skilled labor force and strategic raw materials to enhance its already highly developed manufacturing capabilities. This is pushing industrialization towards advanced manufacturing and higher levels of automation. This is pursuing industrialization towards advanced manufacturing and higher levels of automation, which has been boosted by its world-beating adoption of artificial intelligence. Chinese manufacturing is moving towards a new kind of predominance in growing sectors that are less exposed to lower cost competition. These are high-tech production sectors which demand sophistication and reliability along cost efficiency. Traditional Chinese industries face the rising labor costs due to demographic changes. A widespread application of artificial intelligence has emerged as an alternative to reduce operational cost and enhance efficiency. A slow but drastic change of Chinese factories. Now China is having significant lead over the rest of the world in artificial intelligence patent applications and had overtaken the US in 2014. It has also surpassed USA in terms of number of artificial intelligence research publications and journals citations. The manufacturing sector in China is witnessing a wave of automation and artificial intelligence infusion across sectors. During the pandemic, there has been a surge in the use of a combination of software, hardware and robotic. China recently introduced a driverless robobus on streets of 3 cities. Conclusion: in the post-pandemic era, China is positioning itself in the forefront in manifesting an unprecedented change in the industrialization. It might take years to other growing economy to catch such pace of industrialization. There seems to be a realization that not only how much an economy manufactures, but also how adroitly it uses it matters in the new era. It looks like the dividends are already evident in the GDP numbers. So friends, this was a discussion about China's predominance in the manufacturing and in the economy. You can take the screenshot of these slides and you can keep these bullet points with you, and these bullet points will help you to develop your answers somewhere. फ्रेंड्स, मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि ये वीडियो आपके लिए हेल्पफुल साबित होगा, क्योंकि इसमें एडिटोरियल को पूरा मैंने बुलेट पॉइंट्स में कन्वर्ट करके आपके सामने ये स्लाइड्स रखे हैं। आप इन स्लाइड्स के स्क्रीनशॉट ले सकते हैं और ये बुलेट पॉइंट्स आपके साथ रहेंगे। आप ज़रूरत पड़ने पे अपने एग्जामिनेशन में अपने आंसर को बिल्ड कर सकते हैं। आप चाहते हैं कि इन वीडियोज़ में मैं कुछ चेंजेस करूं जिससे कि वीडियो और ज़्यादा आपके लिए हेल्पफुल साबित हो, तो आप कमेंट बॉक्स में मेंशन करें। मैं कोशिश करूंगा उन सारे पॉइंट्स को इनकॉर्पोरेट करने की, जिससे कि ये वीडियो आपके लिए ज़्यादा यूटिलिटी वीडियो साबित हो। फ्रेंड्स, जुड़े रहिए हमारे साथ, मैं इसी तरह के इंपॉर्टेंट वीडियोज़ आपके लिए लाता रहता हूँ। फ्रेंड्स, आई एम विशिंग यू वेरी वेरी बेस्ट ऑफ लक, स्टे सेफ, स्टे हेल्दी एंड डू टेक वेरी वेरी गुड केयर योरसेल्फ। जय हिंद दोस्तों।